Who is your favourite player of 2020? Who is my favourite player of 2020? Well, in this video we are about to see an amazing game between Daniil Dubov and David Anton. Both players are taking part in the Air Things Masters. Let's introduce the players. Daniil Dubov is my favourite player of the year. He is world number 12 in Rapid. He is Russian number 10. He has such creative ideas, it is ridiculous. I absolutely love watching him play. He is known for having worked with Magnus Carlsen and they have played over 100 training games together. He is 24 years old. David Anton, he is world number 61 in Rapid with a rating of 26.67. He is Spanish number 2 behind Spanish number 1, Paco Vallejo Pons. He is given the nickname El Niño, which translates to the boy or the kid. His best tournament to date was his result in the Gibraltar Masters, sharing first, but losing in the Blitz playoff to Hikaru Nakamura. He does commentary on the Spanish Chess24 channel, along with GM Pepe Cuenca and IM David Martinez. He is 25 years old. Throughout the video, I'm going to put links to Daniil Dubov's amazing games throughout this year in the description below and in the top right corner to this video, so feel free to check out these amazingly creative games. Daniil Dubov has white, David Anton has black. The game began d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5. Both players have moved 2 pawns and a knight. Now Dubov plays g3, he goes for the Catalan setup. David Anton grabs the pawn, but white plans to get it back straight away. Bishop g2, c6 and castle. So already it's move 6, and I like the way Dubov has played. Knight, bishop, king, pawn in the center. This could be a weakness, and there are going to be a few ways white can grab this pawn back. For example, maybe white will go knight here, so then the knight can come back and get the pawn. Maybe the knight can go to d2 or to a3. And another option is for the queen to go to c2. So many ways to get the pawn back. b5. This is a typical way for black to hold on to his extra pawn. Knight e5. Now this bishop wakes up. This is the Catalan bishop, and it exerts a lot of pressure on this diagonal. The knight attacks this pawn, but so does the bishop. Black defends it with bishop b7, and now knight c3. Dubov is setting up a trap by taking this pawn. If black is careless and he plays bishop e7, you can take this pawn, because after take, bishop takes b7, and here white is completely winning because now white can take the rook in the corner. So after knight c3, that's why black defends his pawn with yet another pawn. So we have a triangle pawn structure here with an extended pawn here, an extra pawn here. Black is up a pawn, but his king is still in the middle. b3. Dubov says, well, he might be down a pawn, but he's going to break up the structure. Take, take. In this position, who would you pick, white or black? For me, personally, I would always pick white here. This bishop is amazing compared to this bishop. This bishop is just a giant pawn hiding behind its own pawn, and it's doing nothing. It is such a passive defender, whereas white has a very active piece here. It is worth being down a pawn. White's moves are very easy to make. There's a beautiful knight right in the center, exerting pressure here, controlling this square, putting pressure here. Personally, I could never play like this as black. You grab a pawn very early on in the opening, you try to hold on to it, but throughout the game, it is so difficult to actually move. Is it worth playing chess in this way? I don't think so. Bishop to e7. Bishop b2, castle. Knight e4. When this knight goes to this square, now this bishop protects this pawn, but this knight is saying, well, I want to get rid of a defender to your king. So a good strategy to get this knight in the center. Also, this knight could hop into c5, putting pressure on the bishop. So I really like this move, knight e4. Black gets rid of it with knight takes e4, and now bishop takes e4. This bishop now has 2 jobs, putting pressure as it has been doing, and also aiming to the king side. a5. A good move from David Anton. If you've got an extra pawn on the queen side, on the left, you might as well push it. By the way, just to show you how difficult it is for black to move, you can't even play a normal looking move like knight d7 because bishop takes c6. Take. Now the queen has to defend the bishop, and here white has a great position. You can go e4, grab more central space, put the queen here, put the rook here, or put the queen here, so then that rook can come there. Very, very easy for white to play. a5 played, queen c2, great move. I love these moves in chess where they have two functions. Queen c2 lines up the bishop facing the king, but also we're putting pressure this way. But also you're getting the rook in the game. So you know what? It doesn't have a double purpose, it has a triple purpose. Queen c2 is an amazing move. h6. Rook c1. Even better than rook d1. I mean, I mentioned rook d1, but rook c1 is better because now we got, what is it, quadruple pressure? 4 times as much pressure on this pawn. Queen, bishop, rook, knight. Wow. I mean, come on, man. It is worth being down a pawn if you can put so much pressure on your opponent. Rook c1, great move. Now, why put that rook there? Because this rook can continue to be useful on the a file. Bishop f6, trying to get rid of this knight. Daniil Dubov says, no, knight g4, I'm going to attack your bishop. Bishop g5, f4. White attacks the bishop, so black should move the bishop, right? Wrong. Black now attacks both pieces. And Daniil Dubov says, when you attack me, I will ignore you and do what I want. He doesn't even move either piece that is under attack. He blows open the position with d5. Take a bow, Daniil Dubov. Take a bow. What a move. And at the moment, the only thing I can see is that it opens the diagonal. What I did not see is how Daniil Dubov continued the game. That's why I'm so excited to name Dubov as my favorite player of the year. And there will be many links to many creative games in the description below. Because now black takes the bishop. Do you take this? No, this is not the idea. Very strange, isn't it? You attack my bishop, so now I take your bishop. This is not good, because after queen takes g5, white is actually in some trouble. Where is this knight going to go? It's got no good square. If you play a passive move like knight f2, you might even have queen e3, which is a bit disturbing. Rook f1, you might go here. So no good. No good. So Dubov crashes through the center with d takes e6. And you know what? I decided to have a bit of fun and just highlight all the squares white controls. The pawn on e6 is amazing. It stops this knight coming out and controls a square closer to the king. Amazing. This bishop is alive. Attacking g7. This queen has the potential to be alive because it's going to take this pawn and it's going to come here. This knight could crash through on h6 if there's no bishop there. So maybe by highlighting all the squares, maybe by showing you all the squares that white has the potential to control near the black king, d takes e6 is a brilliant move. I love it. I absolutely love the way Dubov plays. D takes e6. Bishop f6. Now Dubov goes for knight takes f6 check. Bishop takes f6 is also winning, but I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to look at knight takes f6 because later we're going to see so much control. This is how a professional plays. Knight takes f6, g takes, now queen takes e4. A good strategy in chess is to give yourself the chance to make good, easy moves. Look how easy this position is to play for white, because black can hardly move. At the moment, the bishop and knight do not exist. This bishop is just a big pawn. You'd rather that pawn not be there, so then this bishop can actually control lots of squares. But it exists. This knight hasn't come out the game. It's move 21, for goodness sake. This knight should be in the game by now. The threat now is e7, attacking queen and rook. That's why black blocks, and now f5. Once again, let's appreciate the fact that this pawn on e6 is such a thorn in the black position, stopping this knight coming out. It controls f7, a square near the king. This bishop is fully alive. This queen can swing over. Knight a6. on a journey. Maybe it can come to c7. Maybe it can come to c5 to b4. Rook takes a5. That's the problem. The rook used to be defending the pawn, but there's a knight in the way, so now Dubov actually takes it. Rook takes a5 played, and now h5. The idea is just to stop queen g4, check. Queen f3, attacking the pawn. Queen h7, defending. Rook d1. Rooks belong on open files. Good, logical, easy moves. Rook d8 makes sense because you want to trade off white's better rook for black's worse rook. Rook back to a1, defending. Queen h6. Coming in on the dark squares perhaps. King f2. Rook d5. So black wants to trade rooks. He wants to get the other rook here, and then when he swaps off pieces, then he's going to be a knight up. So good strategy from black. Rook takes d5 played, and e takes d5. Black is a knight up. Now we are going to go through a beautiful variation before resuming the game. Rook a5 was played, but pause the video now to have a go. Can you find a brilliant move for white? I'll give you a clue. It is about somehow trying to win this pawn on d5. Maybe you can see the first move, but it's so difficult to see the following 4 moves. The brilliant move is rook takes a6. Bishop takes and queen takes d5. Can we forgive Dubov for not playing this? Yes, because if you sacrifice this, well, you are rook down. But white has so much control in this position. But there are dangerous threats here. White has a big one being e7 check, completely winning. You can't block with the rook because then white will get a queen. That's why rook e8 is a possible move. Queen d7. Attacking the rook, but also attacking a square, which is f7. When the queen lands here with the bishop, and now another chance to pause the video. How can white continue this magnificent attack? The brilliant move is bishop a3. If you take the bishop, the rook drops. So b4 could be a move, but you still take it. Now queen takes bishop. And here comes a wonderful sequence of checks. And white completely obliterates the black king side. Check these checks out. Queen f7, check. King h8. Queen takes pawn, check. King g7, check. Check. Taking the rook with check. 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 And if you go here, it is mate. If you go in the corner, well, the last time I checked, I think it is a good deal for white to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pawns for a bishop. Rook a5 played, d4. David Anton plays d4, opening up the bishop, attacking the queen. But this turns out to be a blunder. White takes the bishop. But that is not David Anton's idea. No way. I mean, he's a top Spanish grandmaster. He's not going to chuck a bishop. What is his idea? He wants to get the queen in with check. The pawn is here protecting the queen. The king goes back. And now d3. Now white has a great defensive move. Queen to f3. White is 2 pawns up. And black has no attack. Queen d2, black attacks the bishop. Rook takes knight, queen takes bishop, and now queen takes d3. White is completely winning. Rook c8. Passed pawns must be pushed. There's no point you having a passed pawn if you're not going to use it, so e7 is a wonderful move. Now black has to go back. Rook e8 and now rook e6. I really enjoy highlighting the squares, and this is an exaggeration, but I still love it. The queen on d3 defends this pawn and this pawn. This pawn defends the rook here. This rook defends that pawn. The queen is defended by the pawn, which is defended by the king. This pawn defends that pawn. This is full control. I love it when everything protects everything. It just shows that you've played a wonderful game. It is move 36. I just love the way Daniil Dubov plays. Rook e6, king f7. By the way, white is 3 pawns up and he's got attacking possibilities. Because black's king is not as safe as white's. King f7, queen f3, coming over to attack this pawn. Queen c1, check. King just hides. Now the queen can come back to defend. So notice the queen only played one attacking move because it grabbed the bishop here. But now it's just gone back. It hasn't really been a worthy journey for the black queen. Queen d5, threatening a nasty discovered check. Rook takes e7, doesn't work because you can just move the rook back with check. The king has to move, and now queen f8 check. This is a double attack. The queen attacks the king, the rook is going to drop. You can take the rook either way. This is a cool way because when you take it, it is mate. Queen d5 play, the king has to get out the way with king g7. Queen takes b5, king back. Queen c4, rook takes e7, but he's just down so many pawns. Rook back with a discovered check. Rook e4 check, king moves, queen g8 check, king d7, rook d4 check, and here David Anton with the black pieces resigned. Rook d4 check, he is going to get mated in a few moves. Notice all the red arrows are all the squares the black king cannot go to, so black can only move to the left. Let's say he goes king c7, queen d8 check. Once again, I've highlighted all the squares you cannot go to. So you can also go to b7. King c6, check. You got a few more options, but it doesn't really matter because it's your move, it's check, and you've got queen and rook near the king. So it's going to be checkmate very soon. King b7, queen b6 check. And the king is forced to go back into the corner or to the right. King to a8 or to c8, it doesn't matter. The final move will be the same. King a8, rook d8 is checkmate. Or the other way, same outcome. Rook d8 is mate. A beautiful attacking game by Daniil Dubov. I hope I've convinced you in this game why he is my favourite player of the year 2020. Now, time for a quiz. I'm going to go through the key moments of the game, and I wonder if you can tell me the correct move. In this position, black has defended his pawns. But how can now white continue to attack this structure? Do you remember what Daniil Dubov played? I'll give you 5 seconds. I hope you got it. Dubov just put his knight in the center. Knight e5. Awakening the bishop on g2. Now the knight and bishop attack c6. Black has just played a5. What does white do now? The queen goes to c2. I hope you remember in the video I mentioned I love these moves because they've got 2 or 3 purposes. The queen bishop attack the pawn, they attack this pawn, and the rook can get in the game. I love these moves. Always look out for these kind of moves in your own games. White to move. Can you see the amazing move Daniil Dubov missed here, which would have led to a brilliancy? And you know what? I don't want you to just see the first move. Can you see the entire sequence? Testing your calculating ability. So the first move is rook takes knight. But you know what? Let's go through it in our heads. Can you calculate all the way? This is a sign of a good player. If you can calculate maybe 4 to 5 moves deep. Rook takes, bishop takes. And now, remember, white will take. This threatens check. But what does black do? He gets the rook out the way. Now do you remember what did white play? Where could white now put the queen? Queen right into the position here because it attacks the rook. But also, remember in the video I mentioned it threatens a square. You can put the queen on f7 to threaten a check. Now, black put the queen back. And do you remember what was white's brilliant move here? I'm going to play this out soon, but this really forces you to think, can you calculate all this way? Because if you can, then you have seen further than Daniil Dubov. What is the amazing move here for white? The amazing move is bishop a3, attacking the queen. Then black went b4, and then you took. Then the queen took. And then what happened? Now, white actually ended up taking all the pawns. Throw in a check, the king in the corner, check, king here, check, king here, take the rook, king here, check, king here, take, king here, and it was 6 pawns against the bishop. I think that's a pretty good deal. What a complete total mess on this position. I hope you have not paused. I hope you haven't left the video. We're going to show this sequence once again. Rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes, threatening check, rook e8, queen d7, threatening square, queen has to go back, and now the brilliant move bishop a3. What a move. b4 played, it doesn't matter, you take the pawn, queen takes, and now we can take the rook, but we saw this amazing sequence, queen f7 check, and now just grabbing everything. The king side is obliterated, king in the corner, check, here, check, here, check, here, check, here, check. And this is a pretty good deal. 6 pawns against a bishop. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. If you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like and subscribe to the channel at the same time. Make sure you hit that bell, then YouTube will let you know when I release a new video. Thanks a lot, and I will see you later.